fame. His bank account is as rich as his name. That's Rich, Richie Rich.
The Richie Rich Show.
Again, this wasn't my scheduled home time. So then I was like, so sometimes my fleet manager doesn't respond to a text every once in a while. So I wasn't worried that he didn't say anything. And then Friday rolls around. This is 4 days later. Friday rolls around and I got an $8 check. So now I'm behind on electric. I'm behind. I think in 3 days it's going to be. They said they'll cut it off in 3 days. So, it's pretty frustrating. It's pretty frustrating. Like, so the one thing I can tell you guys is like, make sure that when you communicate, even though you think even though you feel like it might be wrong to like communicate with your fleet manager and let them know, hey, this isn't my home time. Like I didn't ask for this home time. I need to get paid. You need to let them know, and even a buddy of mine was like, well, even when you finish your 50,000 miles, you're going to still have to be on the truck for another 10,000 while you wait. I'm like, I'm not waiting. I am not waiting. I will raise hell. Like when I hit 50,000 miles, we better be headed back to a terminal because I'm not going to sit here and wait anymore. I'm sick and tired of making $12 an hour. I'm sick and tired of being behind on my bills. I'm not doing it. I'm absolutely not doing it. So, yeah, to say that I'm a little mad is an understatement.
As you can see, this is probably what killed him. Desperation created by a system. I'm not pointing the blame or trying to point fingers, but you can hear the stress in his voice. And this one leads me to my next scenarios in this video. Stay tuned. Hey, what's up, y'all? What's going on? It's your boy Trucker Richie Rich. Back on the ones and twos, unfortunately. The ins and outs of this trucking game, This video is response to the previous video I posted about Earnest Martinez Jr. I feel horrible when I read that. And I'm lost for words, to be honest with you. I was going to make a video tonight about pay and about my last 2 weeks working. My last 2 weeks been the busiest I've been in a long time. I literally drove around the country. And, I started from Detroit, ended up in Los Angeles, from Los Angeles to Sarasota, Florida. And then from Florida back to my home. And during this journey, I had my own little trial and trivia, I had a Swift driver east of Tucson pull next to me and had a tire blowout, a front steer blowout. And he swerved uncontrollably. I thought he was going to flip it. And I had to swerve to make, to save my butt. So, but I'm making this video because I was doing some digging and looking. I can't tell you what caused Earnest to crash his truck and die, but I have some thoughts about it. And, they're not popular. They're not going to be popular. But I can only make an assumption of what happened to him. I can't assume. I don't know, what happened to him. As far as I know, he died. I don't know if he had a front steer blowout or if he fell asleep. Now, Interstate 49 is very steep. A lot of hills, a lot of mountains, a lot of curves. And see, that's one thing. Years ago, I had a student lose his life on Interstate 81 North, heading down a curve. He let the truck roll, and he wasn't paying attention. The curve came upon him. Instead of him, slowing down and using his Jake brake like he was taught, he went over the curve and he died. And he was on his way home. He lived up in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I feel bad. I feel horrible. Once again, You don't hear anything from Prime. You Prime employees, if you look on the Qualcomm or any messages, you don't hear anything. And it just reverts back to my message. I told you that Prime doesn't give out bad news, especially like this. This is something you'll hear from driver to driver, word of mouth. You know, it's awful because Ernest, I followed his journey and I watched his channel from when he started TNT. He was having a lot of issues. You know, TNT for him took about 7 months. I mean, it took a long time. And finally, when he got done, he stuck it through. And he was only on the road for probably less than 2 months before he ended up losing his life. And see, this makes me feel. Okay, I have a few issues. And what I'm going to say here, I want you guys to listen to me. There's a few approaches I can come with this. Like, first of all, I have to say this. These opinions that I'm about to express are just solely my opinions on the Trucker Richie Rich channel. They don't reflect the carriers or carriers that I'm leased onto or that I work for. Okay? But I am going to talk about them a little bit. Training at Prime. I don't know what kind of training he received, but listen to his videos. I don't think it was adequate enough for him. Okay. This is why I have an issue with training that is used as a TNT, that's used as a facade to run team. Okay. This is the main issue I have. And the reason I have that because you are ill properly trained. When I have to give their flowers to Stevens because when I went through them, even though they do like a super solo deal, there's no pressure or stress for the trainer to make the student drive. Do you understand? The student can sit and actually learn the job without being forced to a team scenario. Okay? With TNT at Prime, that trainer on that second or third day had to put him as a team driver. And so what happens? You start passing each other in the night. Okay? You drive your 10, I drive my 10. You drive your 10. But there's no formal training like how to come down a grade, how to deal with inclement weather. Stevens has a set of cards instead of check marks that you have to go through every procedure with these students. And you do that for 5 weeks. And then once again, like I always said, trainers don't pay students. And see, that's pressures to force you to run team immediately. My second thing that I'm going to assume, because these are all assumptions, I can't sit here and say this is the fact. The way Prime does their maintenance program, I don't like it. Okay. It's incentive driven instead of being productivity driven. Do you know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is they incentivize their mechanics and their staff to go over trucks quickly and deem them roadworthy, you know. And the reason I say that is because Ernest was a lease driver, and all those lease trucks that he had to choose from within the last year all had 500, 600,000 miles. And I'm going to tell you this: steer tires are only good for 250,000 miles before they need to be changed. But then there's an incentive to look at the tires and say, well, they can go for a little more. Now, I'm not saying that Prime cuts corners, but it just leaves open the aspect of some mechanical issue with a truck that's been driven like a team truck with high mileage. If you were to look at the life of a truck, right, in a lease program, and you look from start to finish, from 0 miles to 1,000,000 miles, that truck might have saw 1,000 people in it. I'm being serious. 1,000 people might have been in that truck from start to finish. And especially in a lease purchase situation, the ideal is not to get everything fixed. It's just to get everything legal and working. Now, I'm not going to say that I can't say, but I have a few thoughts, and that's why I'm sharing with you guys. And my thoughts are, I looked at Ernest's Facebook page because, like I told you, I followed him on YouTube and I followed him a little bit on social media. And he's married. He had a wife. He looked like he had a newborn child, and he had other kids. He looked like he was a great guy, to be honest with you. He coached football team. He seemed like a nice guy. I don't know him, but he just seemed and appeared to be a decent dude. And I feel horrible that he lost his life over a shipment of frozen chicken. Trucking is dangerous. And just like on Saturday when I was east of Tucson, I could have died myself when that front steer tire blew on that Swift truck and he lost control. We were both doing 70 miles an hour. And I was passing him, and he blew right when I was passing him, and he swerved and panicked. And I had to make, driving a truck is easy when it's normal conditions. When it's ideal conditions, it's like driving a car. But once you have to make an emergency maneuver, that truck feels totally different. It feels insanely different. And, here's another thought I had too about driver fatigue. Lately, loads at Prime have been very tight. I'm not going to lie to you. I picked up a load from Los Angeles and took it down to Sarasota. Total mileage was about 2,600 miles, almost 2,700 miles. And I had 4.5 days to do it. So each day I was driving a minimum of 650 miles a day, at least. I think one day I got almost 700 miles. That's unlike me to do that, but I had to do it to make on-time delivery. And that's another thing. With this market being as it is, it's getting more competitive where they're forcing us to do things like that. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm back. I had to stop for a second, get my thoughts together. But what I was saying is, because the market is so competitive right now, that a lot of these loads are asking for one-night loads. I was in Florida, I dropped off in Sarasota. I had a load that picked up in DeLand, Florida, going up to North Carolina, right? Total mileage was 655 miles. The pickup was on, what's the day? Pickup was on Wednesday, and it delivered Thursday, but it picked up Wednesday night. I got there around 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and it delivered Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning. How you run 655 miles in less than 11 hours, I did it, but I noticed that that's becoming the trend now with these loads. A lot of these one-night loads, where you got to run all night and all day. And see, I'm thinking that's what happened to dude, okay? He probably didn't get adequate sleep, and he had to pick up a load that was delayed because he picked up a meat load at Tyson's, and they're usually behind. And for him not to lose that load, he was kind of forced to run that load all through the day or all through the night to try to make it on-time delivery. This is the result of the terrible market. Now, these are all assumptions. I can't sit here and say because I don't know for fact. But, like I told you, Richie Rich puts all the pieces of puzzles together before I start, smelling the paint on the walls. Do you understand? And this tells me from what I've been seeing, like what I've been saying for the last few weeks, that things are just a little tighter, And see, here's the thing. It's almost becoming like a sweatshop When, one of us dies, they replace us. Um, Trucking is starting to become something else. You know, it doesn't feel right to me anymore. You know, the grit of trucking doesn't taste right. And I've been saying that for the last few months, and it's starting to show. So I feel heartbroken about this guy because we all get into trucking to better our lives and take care of family, and I'm more concerned about his children and his wife because in most of his videos, if you watch him, his channel is EKM Transport. That's his channel. But if you watch his channel and watch his videos, he tells you, look, I am struggling. I am about to be evicted. I need money. I need to work. And this TNT is taking too long. I mean, they put him through the ringer. He stuck with it just to end up dead. Look, no load is worth your life. But what do you do when you're put in a situation where you have to compromise your safety and compromise your life for a dollar? That's why I say trucking has went to shit. This wasn't always like this, but the way the market is forcing people to do things like this. I'm always for certain that that's what happened. But listen, Richie Rich is just an old guy who smells the paint on the wall. That's all. Anyway, I wish they would set up a GoFundMe for his family. I don't know him or his family. Never really had conversations with him. But for watching his wife's videos and him, they were struggling. They were trying to make this trucking thing work for his family. And that's where my concern lays at with the kids. I mean, he just had a baby. It looks like he had a baby like a year ago or two. So it's hard out here, man. But anyway, peace and love. I don't make this too long. Subscriber asked me to respond and say what I thought happened, and this is what I feel. And I'm almost willing to bet dollars because a lot of people are out here facing pressures because of these trucking companies and just trying to stay competitive. I mean, I'll give you a point that happened to me. So after I run from Los Angeles to Sarasota, Florida in 4.5 days, get down to pick up this load from DeLand, Florida, coming up to the North Carolina area. My fleet manager told me originally that the appointment was at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I looked at it and I said, man, how can I make that? Lucky when I got up there, the appointment was for a later time because I wasn't making that 4 o'clock appointment. And my attitude, right, is I'll give it a try, but if I can't do it, I can't do it. I will pull my truck over and go to sleep and turn my phone off. Don't knock or call. Reschedule it. If you can't reschedule it, come and get it. All right? The knock on my door better be another driver coming to get the load. But I can't lose my life. I can't lose the fact of seeing my kids again over a truckload of chicken, frozen chicken. Check this shit out. I was parked at the TA in outside of Tampa, the TA in Impala that's down on Interstate 4. And it was about 9:45 at night. I walked into the TA and Popeyes was closing at 10 o'clock. Okay. And so I saw the chicken on the counter. They had turned all the lights off. They were cleaning up. And the lady sold me a 4-piece for the regular price. And I was like, well, hell, what are you going to do with all that chicken? I said, you should give it to the homeless. She says, no, we can't do that. I'm going to throw it all away. Okay. I said, well, that's deep. And I walked out. But my point is, they were going to throw it all away. Do you understand? Somebody who might have brought that chicken to the customer from the shipper to the customer, to the distributor, then to the customers, or is going to throw away product that somebody might have lost their life over. Earnest just died over frozen chicken that somebody down the line is not going to use all of it. They're going to throw it all away. Don't lose your life over no load. If you lose a job, so be it. Go get another one. Keep your license clean. Keep your piss clean. Keep your life clean. Anyway, Richie Rich out. Peace.
Have one bag. You know, if you're coming to Prime, and I can't speak for any other companies, but if you're coming to Prime, they tell you to bring 7 days worth of clothes. So, you know, if there's anyone like me, I brought more than, well, I say more. I brought, as far as socks and like undergarments, I brought more than enough. That way, stuff like that wouldn't happen. And I'm glad I did because, you know, I think in a couple of pairs of socks accidentally ripped a hole in them. You know, so, but I was able, like, I'm not worried about that. You know, I've got extra pairs, so I'm not worried about it. Let's see what else. How do you feel about all the training, like the 50,000 miles and all that shit?
Freaking God, that's driving me insane.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it would bother me as much if you would stay on the road longer. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love when you're home, but in order to get these miles, it's taking forever.
Remember, we just talked about, what was it, March something? Like early March when I first got in the first trainer, and I had to wait like a week and a half for the second trainer. So basically, since March, I've been at this. We're about to head into July, and I have 16,000 miles left. So let's say we get 4 loads in a week that are 1,000 miles. It's probably not going to happen. More than likely, it's 2,000. And say you get 2,000 miles for that week. You know, that's still 8 weeks. That's still 2 months. You know, and that's assuming you get that many miles.
I mean,
you know,
granted, some people actually do get the miles over and over and over again. There was a guy that was in his training class that's already done with his miles.
Yeah,